Good afternoon. My name is Wei Khan. I'm actually from Singapore, so that might explain why I look like this, but I speak like this. Right? 那我尽快介绍一下，就是在中文一下吧。不好意思，就是我是中文是属于没有那么专业。那我今天的分享就是在英文版啊，那也是不好意思对我这说中文的同事吧。So, thank you very much today to Yongyo for inviting me and the company to give a bit of sharing actually today in Nanjing. I think it's a very interesting opportunity to let different industry players all across the different sectors using the same or similar sort of ERP systems to come and collaborate, to discuss, and to share as well a bit of our perspective. Right? So today I come here with the mentality that I am not exactly an AI expert, but rather an AI practitioner. And what does that mean? How do I do this? How do I change the slide? Okay. What that means is that I come here a bit with the conference with the mindset to share a bit more about our company's perspective, our company's journey through ERP, as well as finally to exchange, to collaborate, and to hear a bit more from experts in other industries, right? Let me start with explaining a bit about our company background, and I promise this is going to be relevant for the content I will share after this, right? I'm from a company called OSP, so we are a Malaysian incorporated company with regional offices across Southeast Asia as well as China. So we were incorporated about 30 plus years ago, and our focuses is actually in three major sort of sectors in the industry, joint venturing with a European company known as ArcelorMittal. So ArcelorMittal is a steel mill actually based in Luxembourg and has been one of the oldest steel mills, more than 100 years. And what we represent is basically we are their Asia division. So for most of APAC, the Eastern Asia as well as Southeast Asia. And I actually brought to attention these three sectors, which is foundation, steel solutions, and energy and infrastructure, because these are industries that we are regularly and actively involved in. So we do a bit of procurement, we do supply, we do logistics, handling, we do construction and installation as well in certain companies. And so, like I promised, I was going to explain why this quick introduction of the company is very important, is because I think when you hear all these terms, the impression you get is that this is an extremely traditional industry, right? And the projects we do, basically, if you look at it very quickly, we're doing mostly steel products. We are not just representing the mill, but as well as representing both the local customers. We have a local office set up in each country in order to provide specifically tailor-made solutions for each region. And the point I wanted to bring through of why I needed to give the impression of the company is because traditional businesses like ours, in my opinion, have essentially changed. Right? What do I mean when I say a traditional business? I think we think of traditional businesses not just in terms of the products we provide, but also the way that the business is managed and operated, right? Our contracts, when we do business, we're looking at contracts in the millions or in the multi-millions, right? When you talk about steel, you talk about construction, infrastructure. This is all big contracts. But at the same time, you have an industry that is operating on very experience-driven decisions. So these are decisions that are done at the top level, very centralized, very localized, usually based off experience, based off gut, I would say sometimes, and actually rarely data-driven. Of course, there are exceptions to the rule, but from our experience, a lot of key major decisions are done using this process. And to me, moving forward in the 21st century and beyond, moving forward in an agentic AI sort of society, I see that the first thing we have to respond to as a company is that our markets are moving faster, our supply chains are getting tighter, there's a lot more corporate consolidation in our companies. Traders are starting to do construction, local construction. You see mills wanting to set up design teams. You see a lot of cross sort of, I would say, supply chain integration. And so, in my opinion, there needs to be all the more a more structured process, able to deliver trusted data, as well as scalable systems moving forward. We included this to share that this is not our first time actually in our ERP journey, making this shift. This is actually the third ERP shift that we've done. And a lot of times, what the thought process behind the change in the ERP is basically to integrate it with how the movers in the industry operate and think, right? So we started from a very founder-centric experience with ERP. So a lot of decisions being centralized to a few key people, very limited processes, very limited flows, matrix approvals, all not very mature, right? And slowly we shifted, as the business shifted to a wider international footprint, naturally, I'm sure a lot of you understand, we need more integration in our systems, in the way that we operate, in the way that we make decisions, in the way that we even approve or make certain simple manual processes, right? So today, working together with Yongyo, actually our company is looking forward to moving to even further regional growth, even more scalable data, and of course, AI readiness. I come back to the point of me trying to share a bit about our experience. I hope that what we share today can be useful to you, even though our experience is, in a way, specific to our industry. I actually brought up the analogy when thinking of how to share my presentation today of a tree. And later you'll see our logo, a bit on the bottom right, is actually a bit shaped like a tree, right? So the idea of a tree came to mind. And specifically today, a lot of companies, a lot of big companies, even shareholders, companies like ArcelorMittal, are encouraging, sometimes even pushing, the incorporation of AI in the way that we work, in the way that we do things. Whether at a co-pilot level or at a agentic level, AI integration seems to be the hot buzzword nowadays, right? And from our experience at least, the way I see it is that for AI, the idea, I would say, is that we see it a bit more as the fruits of a process that is already mature, already well thought out, and already well practiced. And so just a bit, I've written here that the AI may look like the leaves and the fruits of the tree, but the results depend on how strong the roots are, right? So just bear with me for a moment. We see that at the bottom, we put things like SOP, process, data. These are actually really, really basic concepts, but these are concepts that our company has also had to sort of navigate for many, many years on how to process them, how to integrate them, and even how to be able to accurately record them, right? So today, if I can give one page of recommendations or sharing, this would be the page. We've narrowed it down to 3 C's, essentially, quick and simple, that for AI to create value, basically data must be captured properly, managed consistently, and trusted confidently by not just the top level execs, but even the junior staff, the staff that are doing the daily operations. They need to be able to trust not just what is going in, but what is coming out. And so capturing the first C is, to me, one of the most important, and frankly, from our experience, one of the more difficult processes to navigate in the beginning of an organization, right? To be able to record the right activity, the right type of information, organized in the right way, is something that I think that companies should consider when establishing how to set up the proper infrastructure for AI to be able to manipulate, extract, and transform or synthesize the data that you have, right? Consistent flows is the second C, very important as well, because information doesn't exactly prove useful if it is uploaded in different ways by different people in different countries with different cultures, right? And so with our sort of different offices, we've noticed as well that even the language you speak can, in a way, influence the information that you put into the system. And finally, the idea of confidence, of data confidence to us is very, very important, because data must be able to support your strategic decisions and frontline execution towards result. If you're not able to capture sufficient data and keep it consistent, then that confidence is not built. And if that confidence is not built, it does not matter how mature your AI system is. If it is, the term is whether it's hallucinating or extracting from the wrong data pools, right? We need these integral processes first to be able to establish a proper AI infrastructure. So before AI is ready, what I would recommend, what I would like to share is are the roots ready, right? Is your process ready? Has your company already established the different processes, identified that when X happens, how is Y achieved? What are the trigger points? What are the process flows, both within a department as well as between departments, cross-department integration? Data readiness is also very important, like I shared. Being able to capture sufficient data in the consistent format is also very important. And finally, when decisions can be made confident, then we see that execution as well is also much more, not just confident, but comfortable, smooth, efficient, and impactful. So to sort of consolidate all these big ideas that I've shared, ERP, in my opinion, is actually very helpful infrastructure from the operating point of view to be able to integrate all these channels, right? Because we talk about flow, data processing, control points, matrices, authorization processes, all these things, all in our opinion, we found have been very well consolidated in a mature as well as established ERP network. So ERP is not just a software, ultimately. It is ultimately your business infrastructure. It is the way that your colleagues interact with each other, the way that they process and execute, I would say, business decisions. So coming to that, the hardest part fundamentally actually is not usually the software. The software is usually much more mature, right? For our experience, the hardest part is usually the mindset of the people. When you have colleagues working for 20 or 30 years doing the exact same process and being asked to shift to a new system, that's challenging. That's when you know that's the real challenge of being able to integrate a new ERP. It requires discipline, not just from the staff to be regularly keying in information into the system, but also the management. Because if the management does not use the data processing or the ERP processing softwares, or it does not use it to make their business decisions, then naturally, if you are someone keying in the information and you see it going into a black hole, it's not very useful, it's not very meaningful to do that. And ultimately, we also believe that leadership on the AI infrastructure front is incredibly important, because if the leaders do not buy into the idea in your organization, then fundamentally, you are running a ship without its captain. So, in closing, I would like to say thank you very much for your time. Thank you very much for letting me have this quick sharing, at least from my traditional industry experience. To summarize, again, we see from our experience that ERP is not so much the destination, rather it is the part of the foundation. And AI is not just the first step, but rather the next step after discipline and trusted data are all being implemented into this overall system. So thank you, Yongyo community, and for inviting us to the GBIC. I look forward to collaborating and working with all of you to discuss potential opportunities or even means of cooperation. And yes, just a bit of sharing of our company information. Thank you very much.